Once upon a time, Dungeons and Dragons was dangerous. Not because of unbalanced rules or sadistic dungeon masters, but because the world wanted you dead. You feared the dark. You counted every torch. You weighed every decision like it could be your last. When you saw a closed door, you didn't say, "I open it." You said, "I listen." Somewhere along the way, we lost that fear, and with it, something else quietly slipped away. Tension, consequence, the heartbeat of adventure. The earliest versions of D&D were not about heroes. They were about survivors, ordinary souls crawling through extraordinary places. Original D&D, basic and expert D&D, as well as first edition D&D, didn't promise fairness. They promised risk. Every torch was a timer. Every ration was hoarded, and every step was a gamble. As well, every monster wasn't just a bunch of hit points. They were questions that needed creative answers. The danger wasn't there to punish you. It was there to make your choices matter. When your fighter made it out alive with 1 hit point and a single gold coin, you didn't feel cheated. You felt alive. Because in that moment, victory was fragile. And that's what made it feel real. There was something sacred in that. The dice weren't your enemy. They were the universe reminding you that every story has teeth. Then came the shift, a well-meaning evolution. Games became friendlier, softer, more heroic, or rather super heroic. And that can be a good thing. We play to have fun, not to suffer. But somewhere in that kindness, the fear went missing. We stopped tracking rations, or to roll to see if a torch went out. And we started to assume that the heroes would win. A short rest gave you back your hit points. A long rest made you whole again, even after you had been stabbed, burned, or crushed beneath a dragon's claw. And the dungeons, they stopped being nightmares and became theme parks. We built a world where heroes can't die, and stories, well, they just didn't feel alive anymore. Now, don't get me wrong. I love 5e for what it does. If I'm looking to populate my campaign with new demigods, I'll just dust off my old 5e tomes and play 5 to 10 sessions with some characters, and then they will become gods in my campaign. But let me put it bluntly, 5e is the ultimate plot armor. I can already hear the comments. I've had many characters die in a 5e game. I get it. Sure, it happens, but the design of the game protects you. Death isn't expected. It's exceptional. The stories that stay with me are not about safety. They're about ordinary people overcoming extraordinary odds. Bilbo didn't win because he's strong, but because he was clever and even shrewd. Ripley did not win because she had powers. She won because she planned. These aren't tales of destiny. They're tales of human ingenuity that overcame. And only in the end, they might have been lauded as destined. Old school danger wasn't cruelty, it was connection. It made you care about your torch or that last ration, or your friend's trembling hands as they rolled to try and save you. When danger was real, everything mattered. even the silence. You remember those sessions, not because they were balanced, but because they felt true. That night you all made it out alive with 1 hit point. The moment your thief sprang a trap, but shouted just in time for you to get out of the way. The cleric's last spell that turned the tide. Without danger, triumph is hollow. Without the threat of loss, the story has no teeth. And when a story loses its teeth, it stops biting into your memory. You don't remember the games where everything went right. You remember the games where everything almost didn't. So how do we bring it back? How do we light the torch again without snuffing out the fun? What you need to remember is what danger feels like. Let darkness be a threat again. Shadow Dark's real-time torch timer is brilliant because when that flame goes out mid-fight, your pulse spikes. Hunger, fatigue, limited gear. When you track those things, exploration becomes a story, not just a map. Books like Into the Weird and Wild make scarcity an art form. Don't shield your players from failure. Reward them for surviving it, for turning bad rolls into good stories. Because danger doesn't kill the story, it creates it. That's where fear becomes memory, and memory becomes myth. The moment your players laugh after surviving a dungeon, it's then that you know that you've recaptured it. The tension, the breath, the fireside story. Maybe D&D isn't as dangerous as it once was, but every time you light a torch, every time you track a ration, or say, I listen at the door, you know you've recaptured that old flame. That's the magic of the old ways. A term that has been coined that I love is folk role-playing. Because it isn't nostalgia, it's respect for consequence. It's fear turned into wonder. What's the most dangerous moment you've ever survived in a game as a player? I'd love to hear about the legend in the comments. Because in the end, danger doesn't destroy a game, it defines it. If you'd like to help me to create more content like this, consider becoming a Patreon member. There you'll find links to my products as well as maps that I've created and behind the scenes goodness. As well, I'll send you out an Agranak cult patch if you're part of the Red Hand tier or above. Alright everyone, thanks for stopping by Agranak Studios today, and we'll see you on the next one. Later!